Eva, welcome to my episode. Today, I would like to pick Mr. Menaker's two stories, which he mentioned on forum to introduce our background, who we are, how we grew up. All of that will influence us, our trading. The first hero of story is Robert. He is one of the Mr. Menaker's clients.
Robert was an engineer for many years. He had a graduate degree in engineering from a top school in US. He was a successful engineer, and then he went on to learning about trading. He did okay in his trading and had some mirror success. He was making a small amount of money, but it was working very hard. He recognized there was something wrong. He had a very good strategy, but really wasn't making very much money at all. So he contacted Mr. Menaker for some help. What Andrew learned right away from working with Robert is that Robert, like many other engineers who he worked with in trading, had a really strong need for perfection. Robert was a math major in college and then went on to get an engineering degree. As you may know, in math and engineering, you have to be right. There is no room for error. It's black and white, ones and zeros, right or wrong. So, Robert, his whole personality was structured around right or wrong. And you have to be right. So, what was happening for Robert is that he would let good trades pass them by. He would say his signal or strategy would say, take the trade. However, he had to be wondering if it was going to work or not. He would be afraid of being wrong because of his background and trading as an engineer. He would skip trades. He wouldn't take in very many trades at all. That's why he wasn't really making very much money. For Robert, if he were to start taking just a few more of his trades, it would make a dramatic difference in his PLL. And all it took for Robert was an increase of about 25-30% in number of trades and a monthly balance for him to have a very significant improved PLL. So, the good news here is that you don't have to eliminate the problem entirely at all. All you have to do is make some changes, not complete changes. If you have issues around big losses, if you can simply reduce those big losses by 25% or 50%, that will make a huge difference in your trading. This good solution is from Mr. Menaker. Menaker is a clinical psychologist who has extensive experience in applying skills to improve people's behavior. Since 1995, Andrew has served as a mentor to get traders, as a portfolio manager of bank, and had fund manager of professional trading companies.
Make a plan and stick with it. That's the advice almost the trader educators give new traders. Come up with a plan, a good strategy, a plan and follow a plan. They tell us to follow a high probability trading strategy, and that's all we need to do. And everything will be fine. However, the reality is advice is not very practical. Why? In the heat of the moment, we will be worried about whether a trade will work or not. And so, what happened is most traders end up not follow their plan. Why do traders don't follow their plan? Because trading psychology is missing the piece for most traders. Trading always makes people feel uncomfortable,
which is inevitable.
For example, there is anxious around waiting for your opportunity to get into trade. There is
anxiety
after once you get into the trade and wondering whether it's going to work or not. Whether you should get early and take a practical profit, or if the trade stock starts to go to the wrong way, should you let it go and the way use the stop loss level, or should you get
out early?
And that's nature and it's normal. It's part of trading, that's the inevitable. The path of the success is trading is learning to tolerate all the various forms of
discomfort.
and we experience in trading.
If you don't know how to tolerate discomfort, then you will respond to your discomfort
Over and over by doing things like impulse trading, getting into trade decision. Now there is many different ways that
discomfort.
can show up and trade losing, waiting, not sure if you should stay or get out of the trade. There are so many different types of cognitive biases that are well known in the field of psychology. There are many of the dozens and dozens of cognitive biases. I just want to talk about two of them today that are very common and that trading show up among traders everywhere, including very successful traders. The first cognitive bias that I want to talk about is known as hindsight bias. For example, let's say you are looking at your stock chart. We think that stock might do something in the future. And then, let's say, in the near future, it does what you thought it might do. If you think that you predict that, that's called hindsight bias. Often, what happens is we think we predict something, but we haven't. This is a very big issue. In fact, we can't determine our prediction ability by hindsight. Another very common bias that affects all of the traders is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is when we overemphasize information that is consistent with our prior beliefs and our prior expectations, and we underemphasize our overlook or ignore or deny information that is contrary. That's an opposition on our prior benefits and expectation, and we underemphasize our overlook and ignore or deny information that is contrary. That's opposition to our prior benefits and expectation. It's a way that we choose to see what we want to see and ignore other things. That's what confirmation bias is. Okay, that's all content of today. Thank you for coming. And if you want to learn more, subscribe my channel. See ya!